Hey everybody, working on 3.1, and I really appreciated this first section of the book, Celebration of Discipline. I've read this book a couple of times, and so it's been enjoyable to go back over it. I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the things that were impactful to me. In the introduction, Foster says, "Beginners are welcome. I too am a beginner. Even and especially after a number of years of practicing every discipline discussed in this book." I think that's one of the things that I most appreciate about the disciplines is the fact that the more you do them, the more you feel as though you're underqualified to talk about them. Because there's a mystical quality to the disciplines that I think are really, really important. He quotes Merton here on page 2 saying, "We do not want to be beginners, but let us be convinced of the fact that we will never be anything else but beginners all of our life." And I think that's the advantage that we have in our relationship with Christ, is that it's new every morning, and that we can never get to a place where we've got it all figured out. And the disciplines help us in that. He also talks in the introduction, and I think it's worth pointing out that the fact that our modern world it's not intuitive to be internally disciplined. And so as modern people, he says that we don't know how to go about exploring our interior world. We're slave to habits. He talks about that, the ingrained slave nature. The quote here is from Emmett Fox about how the fact that willpower, which is a tool that we use in our world today, willpower is not effective when it comes to the interior spiritual life. Emmett Fox writes, "As soon as you resist mentally any undesirable or unwanted circumstance, you thereby endow it with more power, power which it will use against you, and you will have depleted your own resources to the exact extent." So the harder you push on this idea of becoming a spiritually disciplined person, it would seem, and I think Foster would say this, it doesn't really help. So just kind of going on to the section 1 on the disciplines. They are meditation, prayer, fasting, and study. And on meditation, I was really appreciative of what he said. Very simply on page 17, he said, "It is the ability to hear God's voice and obey his word." Meditation, I think people have an Eastern understanding that it's just emptying yourself. But Foster talks, it's actually about filling yourself with God's word and then living it out. So meditation is really listening and hearing his voice. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was asked, "Why do you meditate?" And he said, "Because I'm a Christian." And so, although meditation is not unique to Christianity, it is unique within Christianity. The next one that they talk about is that of prayer. And really, again, was very, very appreciative of the understanding prayer is more about listening than it is about talking. And he goes through and talks about the prayer, the different prayers, the prayer of faith. He talks about the prayer for guidance. He talks about how he, once studying prayer, took out all of the passages Jesus referenced prayer, and that Jesus never prayed when praying for another person, "If it be thy will." So he talks about that. And then fasting. Jesus has 2 statements on fasting that were highlighted. One was when he said in the Sermon on the Mount, "When you fast," indicating that fasting was just a standard common practice of the day. Also, he talks about fasting later when he says his disciples were accused of not fasting, and he said, well, when the bridegroom is here, they're to feast, not to fast. And so the implication of that then would be that as Christians today, we are to be people of fasting. And so that's kind of some great stuff in section 1. Thank you.